West Hill United is a progressive spiritual community where how you live is more important than what you believe. West Hill United is a people, a place, an idea. We are a community living out of a progressive faith, striving to make a positive difference in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. or connect with us at any time.
At the end of the readings, we customarily add a phrase, offered as wisdom for the journey, and we invite you to respond with the phrase, may we walk in its light. This is simply an invitation to participate if you wish to do so. This better? Okay. Just a second, because I'm going to drop my phone if I do this. Okay. The first reading is from the work of the Romanian American writer, professor, political advocate, Elie Wiesel. There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. Next are the words of the African American civil rights leader and advocate for nonviolence and gay rights, Bayard Rustin. When an individual is protesting society's refusal to acknowledge his dignity as a human being, his very act of protest confers dignity on him. An unknown author describes how protests can impact us. History shows that all protest movements rely on symbols, boycotts, strikes, sit-ins, flags, songs, symbolic action on whatever scale, from the Montgomery B boycott, is it Montgomery bus? I'm sorry, there was a misprint. The Montgomery bus boycott to wearing a simple wristband is designed to disrupt our everyday complacency and force people to think. And David Leviathan, the young adult fiction writer who promotes diversity in his novels, ends our readings with a cheer. Long live protest songs in whatever form they take. Offered as wisdom for the journey. May we walk in its light.
May we walk in its light.
Some of you are deeply familiar with what I just played.
and some of you may not have heard it before. I'm not sensing a crisp sound from the microphone here. Are we good? Are you hearing? Is this a little better? I think I'm going to talk a little louder. Okay, give me some nods here in the hall. You're hearing me all right? But I'm projecting quite loudly. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot my glasses. And could I check that Zoom is hearing all right? Zoom, could you please watch the screen and tell me if they're nodding and they're happy and they're smiling? We don't know. Are they okay? Nobody's sending that they're not? Oh, okay, excellent. Okay. We are going to dive into some songs that you might be familiar with. And the theme that I wanted to bring together was signaled off by a comment by Joan Baez. If you remember many protest songs. The hardest song to write is a protest song, she said. The hardest song to write is a protest song. The readings that Donna just shared with us put together the theme of what I want to lift up this morning about songs of protest from long ago and from today, and a song of protest that might be in your heart about something. And one of the quotes said that a protest song is meant to disrupt our everyday complacency. It's to give us a jolt. We're going along our way, and all of a sudden, something's a new perspective, something we hadn't thought of before, something we haven't reckoned with, something we simply didn't know, or we knew and we thought we knew, but it disrupts our complacency. So the first thing a protest is to disrupt us. It's to give us a jolt. And then the reading went on to say, it forces us to think. Forces us to think. Now, we can always say no. We can always bypass it and say, I'm not going to think about it. But once we're disrupted, once we're jolted, well, let me find out about that. Let me think about that. And then the next quote, one of the quotes that she read was by Wiesel, was to say that we may not be able to always overcome something, but we never want to not protest something that's wrong. So it's to act. So disrupted, and then thinking about something, and then acting. And the beautiful, beautiful quote by Bayard Rustin, we've talked about him before, such a brave activist in America, but he's saying that even protesting someone else's indignity, someone else's plight of oppression or confers dignity on the person and also confers dignity on the protester. So I love to see protest as an act of dignity on behalf of someone or a people, and for yourself to say, I stand with these values together. And if someone on the planet is suffering, part of me is suffering too. If someone on the planet is rejoicing, part of me is rejoicing too. But I stand with people. So disrupting, thinking, acting, and then realizing that we're conferring dignity on someone for doing that. And there's so many songs that are familiar. I'm going to ask the PowerPoint people back there are going to be busy today. The first slide, if you could put on. Second slide. That song, If I Had a Hammer. Do you recall that song? Now, we're going to sing it at the very end of our time together today. It was written by Pete Seeger. Next slide, I think, is a picture of him at various stages of his life. He wrote the song with acoustic guitar and the banjo, very much in the line of folk songs. But the lyrics in its day, it may seem very mild now, but the lyrics in its day were very hard-hitting and very radical. The idea was connected with the labor unions protesting lack of equality, lack of equity, lack of fair wage, lack of good working conditions. And so the words in the song, and we're going to sing it later, but the words take words from work. A hammer, the bell that says time starting and time ending, and a song, and the labor unions, if you know some of them, they were full of musical protest, musical encouragements to each other. So the hammer and the bell in the song are what went into that song. And it wasn't very popular when the Weavers came out with it. If you know the Weavers group, I don't. It wasn't very popular, but it got popular when a group, and we're going to hear that later, a group with 2 men and a woman in it sang it, and it hit the charts. And the only reservation was that it would be sung as a happy little song instead of a protest song. So when Peter, Paul, and Mary sang it, they were using those words. Trini Lopez came up with a version, and it sounds very cheerful. But when you read a little more about what happened behind his version of If I Had a Hammer, it was the first Latino to have a hit record on the charts ever. And so there was a beautiful message in that. You can Google all these. Google Trini Lopez singing I've Got a Hammer, and he's smiling, and he sings it so very Latin rhythms. And so the next slide shows how many records had that song. Do you see? Do you remember 45s? That many, I just put some of them up there. It came out in so many different versions. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. And a great number of recording artists. The next slide shows, I'm just going to see, that's the Four Tops, Aretha Franklin, Paul Robeson. If you know Paul Robeson, he's famous for singing with his deep, resonant voice, Old Man River. He sang it, and then Bobby Darin. So many people sang that in different ways, but it got out there and it was familiar. So that song is sung in different ways, and it has a very serious beginning and a very serious message. There's another kind, and we've sung this one too. The next slide, after that, is it Woody Guthrie, and the song is This Land Is Your Land. Now, here we enter some difficulty. The song was written as a protest to a song called God Bless America. I love the tune to God Bless America. It's a very warm and lovely song. But the way it described America to some people said, that's not my America. That's too whitewashed and surface. There's so much wrong happening in America that I don't relate to that song at all. And so he wrote, This Land Is Your Land. And at the time, he was trying to say, it's for all of us. It's our land. This land belongs to you and me. And he traveled the country singing this song. It's been put into so many versions and so many times rewritten, re-recorded. Bing Crosby, Judy Collins, Harry Belafonte, Fred Waring, Pete Seeger, and the Limelighters. And so because his words left people out as well, he said this: I'm out to sing songs that will prove to you that this is your world, and that if it has hit you pretty hard and knocked you for a dozen loops, no matter what color, what size you are, how you are built, I'm out to sing the songs that make you take pride in yourself and in your work. And the songs that I sing are made up for the most part by all sorts of folks just about like you. And so the effort to make a song that was written for a reason, then got criticized, then got rewritten, and then got open to interpretation. Woody Guthrie's song, some people see it very differently now. Some people have trouble singing those words, and they've written other words. I was going to try and write some words to it, and that's an interesting thought to do, but we see it differently. And I hesitated to show this video, and I'm going to give you a heads up. If you find, well, not if you find, sorry. There are some disturbing scenes in it of reality. It's put together creatively by an extremely talented songwriter and singer, Pharrell Williams, who is famous for singing the song Happy, and we've played it here before at West Hill. But he's put together a song called Freedom. So if scenes are disturbing to you, you can close your eyes and listen to this song, or you can watch the video with us, or you can not watch it and watch it later or not. But the images he puts together in his protest song are very contemporary, and so I'm going to ask the PowerPoint to play the song by Pharrell Williams called Freedom.
all your home security.
Extremely creative. More things in that. I had to watch it a couple of times to even get what he was getting at in that. He's been praised deeply for that bravery and that courage to disrupt, to make us think, to make us act, which he did, and to confer dignity. As I watched it a couple times, I could see that idea of dignity being conferred on the subject areas he was talking about and himself. I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of different protest songs. I'll tell you the date. I'll tell you what it was about. You might know it, you might not. But as we often do here, it's really encouraging to know that that many people care about that many issues. And they put it to song, and they published it, and they sang it, and they got criticized for it, and they got praised for it. But I'm so glad that people do that. I'm so glad that people are brave enough to do. So I will tell you the name of the group. I will tell you when the song came out, and I'll tell you just a little blurb about what that song protests. The group is Radiohead. The song is Idiotech. It came out in 2000. They were ahead of the time, actually, that one. They were warning about the environmental crisis in 2000, which is other people were too. We're not scaremongering. This is really happening. Ice age coming. Ice age coming. And it concludes with a very gloomy statement. Women and children first. Rage Against the Machine is a group, and they came out with a song called Killing in the Name of in 1992. And they were protesting the activities in the southern states that were too close to what the Ku Klux Klan used to do, and that was in 1992. A group called U2 came up with a song called Sunday, Bloody Sunday in 1983. Some of you might know that. And they performed it on the anniversary. It wasn't a rebellious song, a humanitarian plea against the killing that continued throughout the decade and beyond on the 50th anniversary of the event of Bono and his song. The group called The Specials sang a song called Ghost Town in 1981, and they are protesting the police use of CS gas on protesters in Liverpool. John Lennon came up with a song called Imagine. Yeah, sorry, I didn't indicate that you were to fill that blank in. Probably the most misunderstood song, protest song ever, and it's been called a soppy song and it's not. It's actually a very clear statement of could we imagine a world where people are treated with equality. A group called No Doubt had a song called Just a Girl, 1995. And the words in it is, I'm just a girl in the world, that's all you'll let me be. And it's a song for women's rights. Billy Bragg wrote a song called Between the Wars, and that is a song of the UK's miners who are struggling against unsafe mining conditions. And the words are, build me a path from cradle to grave, and I'll give my consent to any government that does not deny a man a living wage. Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA, about the neglected war veterans. Midnight Oil, a group called Midnight Oil, Beds Are Burning, for the Aboriginal people in Australia, or an Aboriginal group to return to their homelands, and the song goes, it belongs to them, let's give it back. A group called The Special AKA, song Free Nelson Mandela, and you can know what that's about. Stevie Wonder, I'm a great fan, the song Living for the City. The words, I hope you hear inside my voice of sorrow and that it motivates you to make a better tomorrow. Tom Robinson, the song called Glad to Be Gay. It was denied to be played on the top 40 until they protested that. And Robinson commented, well, you don't have to be gay to sing this song, but it helps. And so he bravely put that song, much criticism. There's a group called The Farm, and they sing a song called All Together Now. And they were singing about the event in 1914 when on Christmas Day a truce was called and the enemies of each other put down their arms. And the words were, countries' borders were right out of sight when they joined together and decided not to fight. Anti-apartheid songs by Peter Gabriel, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Get Up, Stand Up in 1973 because he went to the Caribbean and was appalled at the poverty he saw there. Pink Floyd sang a song about students being forced to conform. A group called Muse wrote a song called Psycho. Never heard anything about this, about drones. And the words are, to me, drones are, get ready for this, drones are metaphorical psychopaths which enable psychopathic behavior with no recourse. When a drone comes and bombs, there's harsh words. One more. John Lennon and Ono, Give Peace a Chance. I think they sang it sometimes from a bed, if I can remember correctly. Give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. The next slide is an album cover by the group Billy Bragg again. Next slide. There we go. And that is called Waiting for the Grape Leap Forwards. The song describes the day-to-day business of political activism, fundraising, distributing pamphlets, risking unemployment, culminating in the rallying cry of the revolution, which it's just a t-shirt away. And Collins credits the song as featuring some of this writer's most memorable lines at great risk to his own career. The next slide is a song by Jill Scott Heron, and it's called The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And the song goes through every kind of a thing that gets on television and gets noticed with the refrain, but the revolution, the needs will not be televised. Now, I think we do a better job of that now, but at the time, in 1970, it was squashed. And so his song is saying, there's news that needs to be out there, and television needs to present it. When the revolution comes to television, hopefully all will catch it. Second last one, next slide. That is called the Consumers Cooperative, and the song is called the Battle Hymn of Cooperation. The Battle Hymn of Cooperation, and it's sung to the same tune as the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and it's sung, which is actually sung to the tune of John Brown's Body Lies Molded in the Grave, which is another protest song, so layers of protest. And it was written in 1932 for a charity review, a concert by the Consumers Cooperative Services. And here's the words. I won't sing it, but this is the words. And you can picture the tune if you know the Battle Hymn of the Republic tune. Oh, we are a mighty army, though we bear no sword or gun. We're enlisted till the struggle for cooperation's won. And beneath our banner blazoned, one for all and all for one, consumers marching on. Come and let us work together. Come and let us work together. Come and let us work together, consumers marching on. Oh, the world today is suffering, filled with poverty and pain, and the day has come for freedom from the curse of private gain. For all may live in comfort, neath cooperation's reign, consumers marching on. And the last verse, oh, we know our scheme is righteous, and we know our cause is just. For upon the brotherhood of man we firmly base our trust. Let us strive to win the victory, for win we can and must. Consumers marching on. I can picture that being sung in a group that were hoping that their voice got heard. And the last particular album cover, or the poster in this case, is the next one, is called Rebel Girl, The Rebel Girl. And that's a song written and completed by Joe Hill in 1915. The song was published in the Little Red Songbook of the Industrial Workers of the World. They had a songbook. We've had one of them here, and I can't find it. We had a book, Donna often brings us older hymn books, but this is Industrial Workers of the World Songbook, and it was published as sheet music to honor a woman named Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, G-U-R-L-E-Y, Gurley Flynn. And who she was she was born in 1890, an American labor leader. And again, I'd never heard of Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, and she was a labor leader. So abundant blessing in her that she lived. She was a labor leader, an activist, a feminist who played a leading role in the industrial workers of the world, a founding member of the American Civil Liberties Union, and a visible proponent of women's rights, birth control, and women's votes. And this piece of music is in the Smithsonian Institute as a commendation of it. And the album, on the byline of the album is, "Don't mourn, organize." Don't mourn, organize. So I'm going to give you a musical version to wrap up the idea of disrupting our complacency, pushing us to think differently about a situation, to learn more, let ourselves react to it, and then to act in some way, shape, or form, whether it's even passing on a video of a protest song, and then to confer dignity. The next slide shows a picture of Bob Dylan, who wrote the song "Blowin' in the Wind." And that song, I wanted to tell you about that. The song "Blowing in the Wind," again, was often sung as a sweet little sounding song, but it was put together very, very intentionally. Simple lyrics. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. And it was meant to be taken either way. Either that it's blowing in the wind and nobody's even paying attention to it, or it's right there. It's right there. The answer is right here. Grab it. Act. Put it into action. There are 300 cover versions of this song, and they're written by Bob Dylan, and I just want to read you probably one of his most famous songs of all, and the song is called "The Times They Are A-Changing." I'll just read you 2 verses of it. "Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, and you better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Come, writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Come, senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing." Last verse. "Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changing." Bob Dylan. Amazing, amazing words. So we're going to listen to a video that combines 2 songs sung. I didn't include one of them. There's a song about 25 years later where Peter, Paul, and Mary are singing the song again. And Paul says to the audience, "Nothing has meant more to us than to have sung the song, 'If I Had a Hammer,' on the march to Washington in the States." So he comments on that. And this video here is the combination of the answer is "Blowing in the Wind" and "If I Had a Hammer," sung at the enormous congregation that met for the March on Washington. So, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Peter, Paul, and Mary started to sing Bob Dylan's songs when Albert Grossman brought an acetate of "Blowing in the Wind," and this song was so stunning and so magical that we took it right away, made an arrangement, went into the studio and recorded it.
They always wanted to sing, I think, songs which had real import, which were really something which would help to try and change this world. And they came along at the height of that civil rights struggle, and they had the ears of the whole world, particularly of this country.
Now, I think this march will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, demonstrations for freedom and human dignity ever held in the United States.
Neri speaks of the moment of recognition of the March on Washington in 1963, which Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech, as her first recognition of something that has been primary in our relationship.
And now, a group of singers who have come to help express in song what this great meeting is all about. I give you now Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I started to sing, and I had an epiphany, looking out at this 250,000 people. And I truly believed at that moment it was possible that human beings could join together to make a positive social change.
And then all of a sudden, the lyrics are coming out, you know? And how many years will it take before people can be free? And you're thinking, wow, this is it. This is the integration of everything that you sing and you feel strongly, and the moment.
There was a breakout in the thinking, a desire to say, let us think for ourselves independently. We won't be the instrument of somebody else's intent, but we will really be a different kind of people living in a different kind of society.
The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
I
Where were you in 1963? I wish I had been there. I wish I had been there. Thank goodness for videos and photographers and movie makers that make this live for us. And the filming, you're right with the people. A mixed crowd. I must say, people in the front row were clapping on the offbeat, completely on the offbeat. They were very good clappers. I noticed that. That's a hard song to sing and clap on the offbeat, but it was very cool. Peter, Paul, and Mary, you saw them today, not too long ago, honored to have been part of that, and their wish for singing the songs wasn't just to sing in a concert. The reason we sing songs here isn't just to perform a piece of music. It's what it's saying. It's what it moves us to do and to be. And so anything, any song or any poem or any person, any event that disrupts our complacency, that pushes us to think about something we haven't thought about before in a different way, despite the resistance that we might feel from another part of us that says, oh no, don't make me think about that. Or I thought I had this one all figured out, but there's another need to be able to absorb that reality and to find a way to act, a small way, a medium way, a large way, which in social work terms would be the micro level and the mezzo level and the macro level that change needs to happen in. And then to realize that by protesting, we are acknowledging the dignity of the people whose dignity is not being recognized. And we also, according to Wiesel, according to Rustin, we are conferring dignity on ourselves as well, to be part of that great company that stands for justice, that stands for freedom, knowing full well that we don't do it very well. Do it well in some ways, beautifully well in some ways, and in other ways not. And the ways we do it well don't make up for the ways we don't do it well. But that disrupting, thinking, acting, and conferring dignity. So Babette is going to lead us in singing that song, not with the crowd of...
Become a sustaining champion of West Hill United's work by committing to an automatic monthly donation. Learn more or donate now through Canada Helps.